Welcome to the 2025 Volunteer Management Hybrid Conference. So if that's your first time seeing that awesome video that was put out last week by Better Impact, please go on to their socials and share that out. It's such a cute little catchy tune. Here's a little overview of our program this morning. So we're going to have a brief introduction to the conference, chat about some logistics, go over some recommendations from last year's organizers, the next steps, and then again, Q&A, or at any time, if you want to pop anything into the chat or raise your hand, please feel free. So the VMHC is known as the HelloFresh of conferences. It's a unique hybrid event designed specifically for those working in volunteer engagement. So unlike a traditional conference, the VMHC offers a dynamic setup where expert speakers are streamed live over 2 days, providing real-time insight to current trends, challenges, and innovations in the volunteer sector. As a hybrid site, you are bringing together volunteer managers across sectors or within your own organization for a unique opportunity to connect, learn from each other, and create lasting relationships. This conference is also eligible for CVA PDUs, if anybody is looking for those. Here's a look at the schedule. So each day is catered towards either Western North America or sort of Central Eastern. So that's typically where you choose when to attend, should that work for you. I would suggest planning to have your guests arrive to the conference about 30 to 60 minutes prior to the event. This will ensure that you have enough time for them to register on site, network over coffee, maybe snacks, and get settled into the space that they'll be learning in for the day. Each speaker session block is 25 minutes long. The host site then facilitates a group discussion for around 25 minutes, and then we can rejoin each other together as our moderator, Rob, facilitates a panel discussion, fielding live questions from the audience. Here is a look at our speakers for this year. And Nicole, who's joining us from Alive, was a speaker last year. And wondering, after I introduce these folks, if you want to chat for a second about your experience as a speaker last year. So this year we have Dr. Sarah Mackey, we have Andrea Hill, Tony Goodrow, Brooke Campbell, and again, facilitated by Rob Jackson. So Nicole, give us a little insight on what your experience was last year as a presenter.
Of course. If you happen to be looking at the slide below and saw somebody that looked just like me, that was my twin. No, I'm just kidding. It was me. It was just funny. I was like, oh, I'm there and I'm here. And maybe nobody even noticed.
There you go. Look, there you are.
Yeah, there I am. So being a speaker for the conference was a really, really phenomenal experience. And having the opportunity to connect with people, not only nationwide, but literally worldwide. It was phenomenal to see the pictures coming in from people in different cultural garb, like wearing their culture and sending in those pictures and saying, hey, thanks so much for the information that you shared was phenomenal. I would say one of the, being a speaker, getting the feedback from the people, from attendees was huge, because it let us know if we hit it out the park or if we were striking out. And so one of the things that I wanted to share is to let people know during that question and answer session, when it comes up, really encourage people to put those questions in there, because we do look at them and we go through them and we're like, oh, we definitely want to make sure we answer that. We want to make sure we answer that. We don't have time to answer all of them. But Carrie, I know since you've hosted a site before, there's a way that, like, if those questions go up, you can like vote on the question to say like, I agree with it. And that really, really, really helps. So one thing I would definitely say from the speaker perspective is, you know, make sure that that opportunity, when that opportunity comes up, that people do, voice their questions, that they do voice their opinions, because we do get that feedback. It is real time, and we are looking at that information. And sometimes, even if we can't answer it right then, we take it into consideration to other aspects. And sometimes a question might come up, but we know it's going to be answered in somebody else's presentation. So still ask it. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on too much, but that's just the part that I want to say from the speaker aspect, because we're so kind of disconnected until the panel part. But that's when we really get to feel connected to the audience, and makes it a really great experience.
Yeah, that's actually really valuable information, because I've been in that same spot where you're just talking to the abyss and
Yeah.
you're not sure if it's hitting. So definitely, that's a great tip to encourage that participation. Thank you. Okay. My mouse is lazy this morning. There we go. So here's a little peek at what it looks like from the background, from behind the scenes. And of course, this year we're going to be seeing a fresh new look from Better Impact. But this is what the studio setup looks like. You can see there's some back-end support happening there. And there's chairs laid out for all of our speakers for that moderated session. And everyone that is presenting is gathered in a room together, which is so awesome, especially in this day and age. With all of our digital technology. So this is super cool. So they're there live and ready to field those questions in that moderated session. So it's awesome. And here's a little look from the host sites last year. This is my cameo appearance. So I was really excited to be a facilitator for a host site last year. It was our first time. We had an incredible turnout with people across multiple different organizations. We had a little community center. You can see we had a big screen for everybody. I'm sorry, it's the bottom left in case you didn't recognize me, but I can tell you it was an incredible experience with lots of energy in the room all day long. And then the picture on the right was that balloon activity, which was just, so incredible. Seeing everybody come together, participating, getting active, moving our bodies after sitting for a little while during the day. And it was super fun. You can see lots of smiles on the faces of the people that were participating here. Very cool. Okay, so as a host site, here's a little overview of what you will get from that. So what this committee will provide. And what this conference will provide. So there's international high quality content without having to travel. So that's a bonus. Speakers and moderated discussions. You get a conference booklet for the day. And you can either, if you have the budget to print that out, or encourage folks to print it or keep it digital. It's a really great interactive tool. Lots of opportunity for note taking. There were so many reading recommendations and resources that were mentioned last year that people were just feverishly writing along, which was exciting. As well as some discussion questions for the breakout sessions. So definitely, wanting to familiarize yourself with that. We also provide training for your local facilitator. So that'll come in, I believe, September. Some back-end support for managing the live stream. Regular email updates with conference information. You have a social media and digital package using logos, customizable marketing flyers, access to promotional videos like the one we shared just earlier, as well as ideas for icebreakers and additional content. Again, this gives you PDUs for your CVA recertification or certification. And then as well as in the book, there'll be a glossary of key terms. All right, and what does the host site do? Well, you'll need to register and pay the host site fee, and that fee is $5.50 from now until the end of July, so it goes up on August 1st. You can choose to host virtually or in person, and determine your registration fees and set up your registration and collect fees. You can use Eventbrite for that. And once we do have our host sites ready, we're going to talk to the individuals a little bit about the Eventbrite or the platform. Appoint a local facilitator. Again, we'll hold those training sessions, and I would encourage you to have more than one because it's a very busy day. So it's nice to be able to share that around with your team that you're working with, as well as get some breaks for the facilitator. And you can plan for meals and snacks. This is entirely up to you and might impact the way that you set your registration fee. And what you provide is pre or post content. So those icebreakers, networking time, sustainable bandwidth. So making sure that you have a appropriate internet, a sound system and a viewing screen, and a meeting space, again, either virtual or in person. And we do recommend small group seating is best. So that's best for networking and connecting and those small group discussions. Okay, and then as for your internet connection, here's the little overview of the requirements. If you are hosting virtually, you will need to provide the Zoom or WebEx or To-Go platform as the organizer for the people that you're sharing with virtually. You'll need 2 screens and the ability to share your screen with sound to your attendees. And every participant will need a high-speed connection and sound like they would for a regular meeting or webinar. If you're hosting in person, you'll need a large projection screen so that everyone can see. Amplifiers and speakers, not a computer speaker. I once was speaking at a luncheon and they didn't have a speaker and I had to show a video off of a computer speaker sound. It was the quietest I'd ever seen a room of individuals ever be, but I don't think that the impact really hit on that one. So definitely making sure you have the right audio. And a network connection via cable is recommended, not just relying on the Wi-Fi. SETI and a minimum download speed of 2 megabits and 2 computers. So those 2 computers are really helpful, especially for asking those questions from a hybrid site that are going to be sent to those speakers. So folks just have the ability to come up and type in their own question instead of trying to navigate that as a facilitator. And also just as a backup for should anything happen to your original computer. Okay, and as for conference promotion, you'll have a number of resources to help you promote your site locally. The logo will be available for use, social media graphics, again, that customizable flyer. We will add your registration site to the Better Impact portal, unless you do not want that. If it's just an internal, we do not have to have a registration link there, but we could add you just as one of the participants. It'll be listed on the national site. You'll also receive a press release template. And I found that to be really helpful and quite fun to share out to all of the other organizations what we were doing last year. It really encouraged leaders in other organizations to provide that training for their volunteer managers. It was very legitimizing and empowering, I think, to those folks that came to their leaders and said, hey, here's this conference that I'd really like to attend for this price. And I think it increased the support. So I loved that. And access to promotional videos to share on your networks and social media and website. Okay, so the costs and fees. So the host site fee, as I mentioned, is $550 for all of the Alive, VMPC, or Better Impact members, and $600 for the general public. What you charge your attendees is entirely up to you. It's recommended that the fees usually vary between $30 and $75 a person. Some sites provide membership or student or other discounts, and it can also be free if that's within your budget. Last year at the site that I was hosting, or my team was hosting, we did provide breakfast and lunch. So for breakfast, pastries and snacks and coffee and tea. And then for lunch, we had sandwiches and salads. And I believe we ended up charging, I feel like it was around $35 a person. So we did have some internal funds that we had access to use for conference, as well as some donations from some of our vendors. So that was helpful. But it was well worth it. And looking back, I can see easily justifiable to change that to $50 a person and not have any cost on the organization. So you want to consider when you're charging the room space rental, food and drink, any additional speakers or activities, perhaps name tags or resources. We put a lot of fidget toys on the table, and we had like candy just to keep everybody's energy up throughout the day. But that was just our own, what we did at our site. It's not a requirement.
Erin, quick question for you.
Yes.
For as far as the cost and the fees, is it the same regardless if it's virtual or in person?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, a great question. And the fee is 100% refundable before August 31st, should anything happen that you're unable to host, and 50% before October 4th. After October 4th, there are no refunds. Okay, so a few recommendations from hosts from last year. Room arrangements work best if you can have small group discussions. Plan on meeting a little early to allow for folks to get in and get settled. It's sometimes that you need that little extra time when you're coming in, especially if you're coming in alone, to find a buddy, make a connection, find someone that you're comfortable sitting with. Advertise in advance as much as possible. Recommendations for food, box lunches, or pizza works well. You can also encourage folks to bring their own lunches. You do not have to provide a lunch. And again, using a different facilitator for each session. So there's 4 speakers, so then there are 4 discussion sessions. It's a really great opportunity for myself as a leader to help my team become comfortable or encourage them in that space of public speaking and facilitating sessions. So I found that was really, really nice for them. Having name tags, encouraging folks to bring their business cards, again, for that social connection. Although we all know we don't, maybe not all know this, but there is that QR code on your LinkedIn. That's a great way to connect with folks as well. Utilizing a student to manage any social feeds or a volunteer. We had volunteers that came to check our guests in. So we had 2 volunteers at the welcoming table rather than having that on the staff or facilitator. That was really awesome. They loved it. We also invited our volunteers to join us for the day as well, if it was something that was of interest to them. Have an icebreaker or additional content activity. Plan in case your lunch goes too quickly or if there's any delays in the start for the program. Invite your supervisor. Ask them to come for free. Use the press release and maybe invite a reporter for the day. Provide handouts electronically to save costs. And if you have any streaming issues, the very, very first thing is to refresh your screen. When we are available during that time for a phone call if you're having troubles, and we provide some support, but typically if you are refreshing your screen, that's the very first step. It's streamed on a YouTube platform, so that's been known over the years to be the answer is, the old plug it in or unplug it, plug it back in. Okay, so next steps. After you register, once you've received your invoice, you must pay within 30 days, and you'll start getting regular email updates from us, including dates for marketing and facilitator webinars. Training for your local facilitator will take place in September and October. And we're also recording this session, so this video will be available online as well. If you have additional folks in your organization that are interested in becoming host sites, you can provide that resource for them. And that concludes our presentation. So if you have any questions after today, we're going to direct you to Diana from Better Impact. And you can email her directly at diana@betterimpact.com. And again, after you register, that information will be provided to you as well. And here's the final cameo from our wonderful Nicole here from last year's conference with her team of organizers and speakers, all representing the orange from that wonderful balloon exercise. And yeah, so we'll close the presentation here. Thanks for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Day. Bye-bye.
Have a great week.